We are back. Welcome to Risk Valor for all my new and existing audience. I'm your host, Alyssa, and today I have a very special guest, my friend Emily Reynolds. So, Emily is a WBFF Pro, a master fitness trainer, a holistic health advocate beyond many other things with life coaching and fitness coaching. So, I know that's the real reason you're here, not to hear me blab on and on. So, I am super excited to hear the inspiration, the downfalls, the conquering, everything in between. So I'm very excited. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I was very excited for today.
I know, me too. We've been talking on and off. So we are just like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I want to say this. We had so much to talk about. We instantly were like, are you my soul
Yeah.
sister?
First time we talked, I'm like, oh my God, my people.
Yes, I know. It's super exciting. But so I know we've had a lot of, I guess you could say, captivating conversations already. We have a lot of
Mhm.
similarities, but I do want to hear basically with all amazing people, women that are doing the juggling everything. Like, I mean, when I listed off they're not just accomplishments, they're things you're actively doing right now and balancing all of those things. But to get to that point, there had to have been some kind of pinnacle moment or a turn where your life went on this new trajectory. So can you kind of share that
Yeah.
journey with us?
Yeah. I am such a bucket list person. The older I get, the more I realize like I've accomplished a lot. One of my friends said to me, she goes, man, in the past 2 or 3 years, I've done X, Y, and Z, and you've done the whole alphabet.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, you put it like that, it's pretty awesome. I said, yeah, I really am that type of a person, and it was all because of getting sick. Being diagnosed with Graves' disease, fibromyalgia, a whole host of diagnosis,
Wow.
and basically being told by doctors to go on disability or that I was going to die of a heart attack before the age of 30 and that I was, really bad off. It it's like
Wow.
your aha moment, and it was 7 years of suffering with that. So, when I figured out how to come out of it, I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, I have so much life to live." Like, I'm so appreciative. It breathed new life into me that I didn't even know I needed. When you get something
Yeah.
taken away, you appreciate it so much more.
No, absolutely. And I know when we talked, and I mean, you're even hearing a doctor say your time is limited. Like, how scary is that? Like, even those like fake
Mhm.
apps that like determine how long you have left. I'm like, I don't even want to know the
Yeah,
pretend date because I'll be panicking up
right.
until then. It's like yesterday. But
Yeah.
I know we had talked about like, big pharma medication, how
Mhm.
I bet that played a big role in you taking that holistic approach. So where did you bridge that like gap, I guess?
Um, I got to the point where I was pissed. Like,
Yeah.
I went to doctors. I'm such a visual person. If I visualize that old me going to doctors, I went on into appointments, like, with armor on, like, I was ready for
Yeah.
war. I was, like, to the point I listened to so many things that doctors said with the sheepish, "Okay, okay, I'll take that. I'll take that medication. I'll
Oh
do
my
what you
God.
say. I'll get that surgery." And then I just got worse. So then I went with my armor on, and I was like, "Hell no, this is not me." When a doctor said to me, this was my moment that I was like,
Hmm.
"Medicine is not for me." "Maybe you need to go to a psychologist." And I said, "What?" And she said, "'Cause you have depression." And I said, "I have situational depression. Like, I'm kinda sick and tired of my 7-year sick situation and getting handed a pill that has a bunch of side effects that I come back and I tell you all the things wrong with me, and you just give me another pill." I said, "Yeah,
Oh,
I'm depressed." I said, "I'm more d than depressed. I'm angry." So I
yeah.
fired all my doctors. That's when I was like, "I'm done. I'm totally done." And I wrote a list of all the things that they told me that I could not do. I got off all of my medications, including my thyroid medication, and I switched to a compounding, a pig thyroid. I said, "You know what? It's not my imagination. These medications are making me worse. When I started with Graves' disease, I was bad off, and now I'm worse with all these medications." So I got rid of the doctors, I got rid of the medications, I researched the heck out of holistic and just flipped everything on its head. I said, I'm not going to go to people who have Graves' disease. I'm going to go to people that healed cancer, fibromyalgia, thyroid disease, and I'm going to
Hmm.
research healing. So I just flipped it in on its head, wrote my list of all the things they told me I couldn't do. I did all the things that they said I couldn't do. They said you'll never have muscle. So I said I'm going to become a competitor.
Yeah.
Never expecting to get a pro card, but just wanted to prove to
Wow.
myself that I could do it. And yeah, a doctor told me don't waste your money on vitamins. Just save
Oh,
your money and go on a nice vacation at the end of the year because it's a complete waste of money. So what did I do? I researched supplementation, natural supplementation, and coffee enemas, vegetable juicing, and my life, it was just like this door open to healing. And the
wow.
whole time of just being blinders on towards medical,
Yeah.
I only got sicker. I know that's not the case for everybody, but that MD, in my mind, in many cases, it stands for misinformed drug pushers because that's all they were for
Hmm.
me.
Yeah, and I feel like I mean, we know if you're self-aware in what's happening too. I mean, big pharma is a money pit.
Yep.
So I mean, a lot of it has to do like doctors will get paid to write prescriptions, and there are some amazing doctors out there doing the good
Sure.
work, I like to say.
Mhm.
But it's definitely scary. So my dad, has, Crohn's colitis, all these different things, right? So I
Mhm.
remember when I kind of went on my health kick too, I had read a book called The Grain Brain. I'm like,
Yeah.
nutrition, like food is healing some or food is what do they say? Food is medicine.
Yep.
So there's a lot of different things. And I know you probably can talk on that too with like diet. I was like, maybe if you just cut out like the breads, the pastas, the things like that, the sugars, the soda, the things like that, you might see a change naturally instead of being on so many pills. And it like freaks me out
Yeah.
because I'm like, I don't want I want them to live long too. I want to live long. So if I was, diagnosed with something, it's like I think taking that route that you did to do the research, the stuff is out there. And there's some people who will lead you in the right way.
It is, but there are also some we have to admit the truth that a lot of
Yeah.
doctors are leading you down a path that is going to kill you. I mean, the diabetes diet, if it the diabetes diet is basically insulin spiking foods. Wake up in the morning, have oatmeal, put honey in it. I mean, it's ridiculous when I
Wow.
see, because now I help a lot of people with chronic illness with my nutrition programs, and they send me what their dietitians that they were referred to by their medical doctors tell them to
Wow.
eat. And someone sent me a list of what they can eat at McDonald's, what they can eat at Olive Garden. I said, "What?
What?
This?" And this is from the most prestigious of all nutritionists. And I said, "This is ridiculous." This person didn't say, "Hey, I eat McDonald's. What can I eat there that's healthy?" They gave them a list of all the fast food restaurants and what was the best thing on there to eat. I mean, you can't make this shit up. It's
Oh my
insane.
God. That is
Yeah.
insane. I mean, I know there's some like fitness influencers you could say out there. And I remember I'd seen a post where it's like, what are the okay things to eat when you're on the road and like fast food? Because some people don't pack or they don't like just grab the bag of nuts and like some other stuff. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
well you can get this from Chick-fil-A and this from McDonald's. And I'm like, we shouldn't be like advocating for
Promoting
the
that.
promoting the fast food stuff
Mhm.
because I'm like even if you're like a skinny fat person I'm like you have to realize your insides are suffering just because you look
Exactly.
okay on the outside you're
Mhm.
it's our fuel like your your freaking organs and stuff still have to live. I mean I don't
Yeah.
know, I just never understood the methodology. Oh well I don't need to because I'm not overweight. I'm like yeah but eventually something is going to probably happen.
Yeah. Well, when I was diagnosed with everything, when I was 22, well, my first diagnosis was Graves'
Yeah.
disease, and then it came the IBS, Crohn's, celiac. I was never over maybe 115. So I was between 110 and
Wow.
115 pounds. So I was perfectly skinny. And the first doctor that diagnosed me, I said, "What does this mean?" And she said, "It just means you're going to be able to eat whatever you want and stay skinny forever." Yeah.
Someone who spent 8 years or more in
Yeah.
college. Okay.
Moron. Total moron.
Wow. How
Total
horrible.
moron.
Like, are
Yeah.
you in the business of helping people?
Yeah. But then I decided to stop blaming doctors, and I said, "Okay, let me look at their education," like you're saying. Um, sure, they're educated for 8 years, but they get about 8 hours of nutrition or less. And I said,
Oh,
"You know
okay.
what? They are educated to test, diagnose, and prescribe, and I'm going to them and expecting them to heal me? Huh, I'm gonna turn it on myself and say, I'm gonna heal myself because I know myself." Instead of going to battle with them like and I was pissed every time I went to doctors
Mhm.
towards the end. I mean, I went in like angry. And even to this day, I go to dentists and I'm like, "Yo, what's your opinion on fluoride? Because if we don't jive with this, you're not my dentist."
Yeah.
Because I have very strong opinions, because of what I've went through. So I said, "You know what? I'm not gonna blame them anymore. I'm gonna take control of my life." And if someone had told me when I was in the midst of my Graves' disease, "You are the reason you have this. You are the only one who can heal you," I would have been pretty upset. But now when
Yeah.
I coach people, I tell them, "You have to take personal responsibility because just like nobody's gonna fix your mental, emotional, or financial problems,
Yep.
no one's gonna fix your physical problems. No one is going You might partner with people who can help you, and you have to be very careful and discerning of who those people are, but nobody's gonna do the work for you."
And that goes with everything, like you said. I mean, it's taking accountability. I know there's a lot of, like it's a very Gary V thing to say too. It's like you have to be accountable. Yeah, but it's my fault. Everything's my fault. Everything in your
Yeah,
life is your
it's
fault.
true. It
And
is.
you can look at it as the glass half full too, but he's just like, if you just do that, you're gonna live a happier life anyways, and just
Yeah,
be grateful for the journey that you're on anyways. You got to
yeah.
live another
A
day.
lo a lot of those little snippets that I tell clients are like, "Oh, that's depressing." I'm like, "Be your own best friend. You're the only person you're stuck with forever." When you have
Yeah,
low expectations of people, you'll be very happily surprised. When you have high expectations of people, you're constantly disappointed. It's a
that's so
fact.
true. I know. And like
Yeah,
you kind of said that, and it reminds me of how we said that we're, A-type females, we're alpha females. And so,
yeah,
like, what does that mean? How do you navigate life being, you know, we have to, like, when you're with challenges, like how do we overcome those challenges, or how would you advise other people to overcome challenges being so independent? Because I know it can be scary
yeah.
for, the world.
This this is something that, I wouldn't say I struggle with, but I continue to learn about when it comes to me because I am very alpha. I always say I'm an alpha who steps down for another alpha, because there's all different kinds of alphas, especially when
Yeah.
you're a female and you're alpha. I always say, I when I'm left to my own resources, have to take care of myself and I don't have a partner and it's just me. It's just me and my dog.
Mhm.
I'm going to take care of things. I'm always going to be okay. So then I go into more of that masculine energy because we all have a balance of
Yep.
feminine and masculine. And when I'm single and I'm alone or if I'm going through a challenge, I definitely step more into my masculine energy. But as time has progressed, I realized that can be a very bad place for a female to be for a long time. And that is part of why I think that I got Graves' disease because not only was I always going to be okay and never lean on anybody, I also was the one that I just wanted to take care of people, not fix people, not change people, but I wanted to take care of people. There was not a single person that could come to me and ask me for something, and I would say no to them. But I didn't put myself first. So I
Wow.
knew I was okay and I knew I was strong and I knew I could take it. But then when I would crumble inside, I wouldn't tell anybody. And that's
Yeah.
toxic, and that's not a good way to treat yourself. So once I got the fitness and the nutrition part of it down and I was competing and I looked great, I said, "Okay, I gotta work on my insides, my organs, and also my heart and my
Hmm.
mind." And I started looking at toxicity of people. So
Wow.
you go down like a major self-discovery and you have to be real, be your own best friend and kind of slap yourself on the wrist and go, that's not healthy. So being the strong one, you've seen the meme, it's like, um, make sure you check on your strong friend.
Oh yeah, I have.
You've seen that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm that person. When someone asks me if I'm okay, I'm like, yeah, I'm great. But I could have been struggling inside. Now I'm the kind of person that I will just say it like it is. And that really helped me. It helped me to heal. And part of a thyroid problem, I'm not that big into chakras, like knowing what they do, but one thing I did learn was that your throat chakra, that's your voice.
Okay.
So when people have a thyroid problem, they generally have had a time in their life that they didn't have a voice. They didn't use their voice, or they did and it was suppressed. I didn't really speak my truth that much. I wanted to always people please. So now
Mhm.
that old me squashed because I
Wow.
realized that that really affected my thyroid.
No, absolutely. And I think like I always say when I have these interviews and conversations on this podcast so far, and it's not even been that long, I'm learning so much, because that's something that I know we already briefly talked about over text and everything, but it's so true. I'm still on a journey of that self-discovery, self-love, because for the last 5 years I've been single, and that's when I've really
Mhm.
stepped into that alpha role. Um,
Yeah.
I still do carry a lot of masculine energy out front just because of I need to feel protected. I have a child. Like, I need to be the breadwinner at the same time. I need to be the caregiver. So that's like my feminine energy. But
Mhm.
it's definitely a learning experience. And I think there's so many women who don't know how to differentiate, like you say, or know how important it is to love yourself. Cause I too was,
Yeah.
I still am a giver, but I've learned to just tell my trusted friends, Natalia being one of them, who's our mutual
Yes.
contact. Um,
Love her.
excuse me, but we actually we like prayed together when we were in Florida this, a few days ago, and I like actually broke down because I was just like in a mental place. I mean, it just sometimes it's a roller coaster, and I was just like, I just need to
Yeah.
tell like people what's going on, and I've been so much better at doing that, and it's like a weight is lifted when you surround yourself with other people who really love who they are, and they're
Yeah.
so dynamic, and they're so unapologetic about themselves, but they just know themselves. They've done that
Yep.
journey, and that's what's so
And you can
important.
feel safe,
Mhm.
but that safety, like they say, someone you can't change someone and you can't get someone to, oh, what's the saying? I always say you can't meet someone any more deeply than they've met themselves. So you can be in a relationship of any sort where you try to get to know somebody and then there's this blockage, and you try to figure out how you can get them to come out of the shell. But then you realize maybe this person hasn't done their inner work and you are
Yeah.
meeting them as deeply as they've gone with themselves. You can't force them to go deeper. But when you do meet those people like Natalia
Hmm.
that have done the inner work and are
Yep.
so deep, they have a safety within themselves with themselves. That's why you can open up to them and feel like I can do this with them and feel comfortable. And
Yes.
that's again the discernment that you learn over time. Um, you can overshare with people and then get really uncomfortable and go, gosh, I wish I didn't do that because those weren't safe people.
Yeah, and I mean that's been a learning experience for sure, I would say, especially in relationships. Because I
Mhm.
feel there's probably some similarities with other relationships that people are currently going through or have gone through where when you already don't love yourself and you enter something, it
Yeah.
can be really toxic for both people. And I actually had someone come up to me recently and ask like, oh, I always get asked, can I have a female opinion? I work in very male dominant industries back to back. I have, so it's like I'm the only female around, so they're like, I need a
Yeah.
female opinion all the time. And I'm like, okay, what do we
Yeah.
got today? I feel like I should be a therapist too, because I'm like, I've heard more things. I'm like, step into my office. But they were talking about a new relationship that they're on, and
Mhm.
so this long relationship is so great. I think this is the one, blah, blah, blah. But recently what do you feel like, Alyssa, what do you feel about like sharing phones? Like like being able to hand it over. I'm like, what do you mean, like an open phone policy? Or I'm like, is it a
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm just need to take a picture, or like, can I use your phone? Mine's somewhere. Like what I was like, what is the situation scenario?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I think she had like, she's just used to like her ex being like a certain way or something. So to me, I was like, two things. One, and this is just my opinion, and I'm sure you can expound on it. One, she's doing something she shouldn't be doing and she's deflecting that on you. Or two, she does have past trauma. And I said, and if it's that second one and you're like 100% certain or you feel really like it is that one, she needs to do inner work.
Right.
Because if
I agree.
yeah.
It's like saying it does phone policy, whatever, the issue that you had with your ex, if you don't get over that and heal that and you're bringing that into a new relationship, you're basically shaming that partner for something that another person did. Like,
Yes.
you have to do this because somebody else hurt me in this way. That's not healed. That's punishment, and that's not fair.
No, and that's exactly what I said, so I'm glad, like, we agree, but I was just like, from, like, person and I've been alone for so long doing this work and, like, knowing myself, like, "What do you like to do, Alyssa? Like, what should we do today?"
Yeah.
It's that's a that's a big deal, and, like, I haven't had, like, a lot of relationships, I've just had long-lasting ones. I guess
Mhm.
that's a great thing to be proud of, but not that they were right for me, obviously, in the end, but it was to the point where it was like I always had one. And then now I
Yeah.
finally had this long period where I really had to sit with myself after my marriage in 2019. So since then, it's been me and my son and doing that. And I think it's just so important to know yourself and to spend time alone if you feel the
It's
need to like have someone attached to you or
right.
emotionally, it could be yeah.
You've heard of the attachment styles, right? There's a lot of, there's like, the code a lot of people I find are codependent. Even with friendships, some people are codependent, and some women, they have their best friend, and then they jump from their best friend to a partner, people that disappear once they get a relationship. Then they're
Hmm.
with that person, they jump to a next relationship. Um, I think that having that time to be alone and be uncomfortable and face yourself is absolutely necessary, because a half and a half don't equal a whole. And that's one thing that I see immediately in people. And I actually ask the questions now. Um, if people work on themselves, what work have they done? And not just you've done work on yourself, you feel like you're healed, but someone who wants to actively seek out to learn more about themselves, because it's not like like the laundry is never done, the bills are never paid, right? We got to
Yeah.
continue to do it. The work on ourselves has to continue too. It's not like, oh yeah, when I was in that relationship, it didn't go well, so I went to therapy, now I'm all fixed. No. What do you do? What kind of inner work do you do on a regular basis? Such an important question to ask. And I had this conversation with a girlfriend just the other day. I said, you know what, when we're dating people, a lot of the time you see the attractiveness of someone. I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me. That is lust. And we don't want to call it that, because it's like, no, but we vibe and we have all these things in common. No, attractiveness immediately is lust. So, what about being the best friend first? What about interviewing someone, dating to
Hmm.
interview, make sure that they could be a best friend? Of course, you got to be attracted to each other. That's a
Yeah.
huge bonus, but that's not everything. Sometimes we see the attractiveness and we jump into a relationship, and all of a sudden you're living with someone and you're like, okay, this is unraveling. What is going on? This person is not who I thought, because you never gave the opportunity to find out if this person could even be a friend. So,
Yeah.
I'm a lot slower when it comes to relationships, especially now. I'm much slower. It's like, is this person going to be my best friend for the rest of my life, my ride or die, my apocalypse partner, like my everything? And then, and do they have all the morals and values that I need, and the strong faith in God? And of course, attractiveness. But you can't just say, I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me, we're going to jump into it. And that's what I find happens when people get into something and it just doesn't end up working out. It always starts with, we're great physically together. And
Yeah.
that's a very small part of your relationship.
It really is. I couldn't agree more. I know we talked about that briefly too offline, and it was like we talked about, like I had done dating apps and I had it for a very short period of time because I felt like weird on it to begin with,
Yeah.
but it was such a strange, like a strange feeling that it was just like either you're choosing people based on attractiveness because there's only so much their
All you
stuff
see is the photo, and
exactly,
you're
and I'm
swiping based on, you can't get a vibe of someone's soul on a
no,
photo. You just can't.
no, I know it's
And
so
I'm not
sad.
knocking apps. They're not for me,
Some people
but
met on apps, so I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
some people met and got married and are amazing together. So you do have to meet people somehow, and a lot of
Hmm.
people who work all the time, maybe apps are the best thing for them. But you could be swiping someone who doesn't look attractive in a photo that if you saw them in person and you were to vibe together on with that
Yeah.
person, you might have the perfect match. So, yeah, I'm very, very cautious because you gotta type. I've always had a type. You're probably the same as me. Big,
Mhm.
muscular,
Yeah.
bodybuilder looking guys
Mhm.
with great personalities.
Yes.
But it's like I was a girl that someone could go, "That's Emily's type. That's Emily's type." And
Yeah.
now I'm like, "That doesn't work because it hasn't worked so far." I met some great
Yeah.
guys who are my type, but they didn't work. And
Yeah.
there's more than just the looks.
There is, and it's even like one of my least favorite questions is like, so what are you looking for in a person? I'm like, if I tell you everything, then you're just gonna go ahead and say you're all of those things, right? Because that's the easy pathway
Yeah,
to, oh yeah, I'm honest, I'm funny, I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, how about you just show me who you are? Let's,
yeah.
let's experience that. So I believe everything that you're saying too, and it takes me a long time too. Clearly, it's been many years, half a decade, and and probably longer because I'm working on myself still. I'm doing this podcast. I'm doing a lot of things. I'm raising my son essentially
Yeah.
alone. So it's that balance, and I guess I'll kind of like segue into the balance thing
Mhm.
with women who are trying to enter maybe getting to know themselves better or balancing fitness and nutrition because a lot of people the biggest excuse, as I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times, is I don't have time. And I'm like, there is always time. Like after this I'm headed to the gym,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
mostly it's because my son is on vacation right now with his dad for summer, so that's kind of like why I can go later now, but I'll always make time. I'll work out here if I have to. Like damn, I don't
Sure.
care.
Yep. Yeah, because we all have the same 24 hours in the day, and it's
Yeah.
making something a priority. I have people that are on my app that do 30-minute workouts. So say they wake up
Yep.
at 6:30 in the morning, now they're waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they said to me the same thing, "I don't have time." Okay, we'll get on the app. We're gonna do the short 30-minute at-home workouts. You wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, do the 30-minute workout, and then get
Mm-hmm.
in the shower and head to work. It's really just an excuse, and excuses are like assholes. Everyone has one, and most of them stink, and I
Yeah.
don't wanna hear it. And my clients know that, like, I'm the nicest, most compassionate, I am such a
Mhm.
deep empath, but I also firmly believe that if I'm gonna be in somebody's life, I'm gonna be a bonus. If I'm not a bonus in your life, if I'm not adding to your bank account, if I'm not making deposits, if I'm not making you better, get rid of me. I'm not for you. And same goes for
Mhm.
people. So, when it comes to coaching people or even my friends, I am no bullshit. You tell me you don't have time, bullshit alarm, you
Yep.
know? Call
Mhm.
a ambulance. I don't come to pity parties. That's what I always say.
I love
Um,
that.
it's baloney. It's absolute baloney.
I
So
know.
I just don't accept that. It's the lamest excuse I've ever heard.
You'd be like, "Here, let me tell you about all these diagnoses I had and where I shouldn't be alive today," basically, is according to
Yeah.
whoever. There's so many excuses out there, and I I agree with you. I think tough love is like my favorite form of
Mhm.
love when it comes to either a coach or a mentor. I need someone to tell me like, no, Alyssa, you're, beating around the bush, or maybe you're not inspired. Because I think another thing is like, well, I need to be more disciplined or I need to be more motivated. Motivated is the word because discipline matters, but motivated is a fleeting thing. Sometimes you need to be inspired.
Totally.
If you're not inspired for the end goal, you're probably not going to stick with it. Those are our January 1sters and maybe
Yep.
sometimes the summer bodyers, you know? I
Yeah.
don't know. I
Yeah,
guess.
you're totally right saying motivation is fleeting. It really is because you could wake up just not feeling it one day and you're unmotivated, but you have to push through and you have to do it. You have to have, internal drive. You can't just be motivated. I mean, like, when someone signs up to do a show, I'm like, "What is your purpose?" Like, let's be
Yeah.
honest. Do you wanna look really hot because you just broke up with an ex and you wanna post some good pictures on the internet and be, fit and sexy?
Yeah.
That's awesome. You'll probably do one show, you'll do okay. But what's your internal drive? It has to be deep for things to really stick. And that's where I think people who have been through something and overcome it, they have a fire inside of them that can't be touched. That's why I love working with people that have chronic illness.
Yeah.
I tell them at my gym, I go, if you have people that have health issues, give them my card. Those are the clients I want. They're like,
Yeah.
okay. That might not be someone that the average trainer wants, but I would prefer them over a bored housewife who wants a trainer 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Gonna
I
be
mean,
honest.
yeah, and you can connect with them on a different level and actually change their life. And I bet that's an amazing feeling. And I'm sure I
Yeah.
guess would you mind sharing like one of your fitness success stories from a client, perhaps?
Oh, there's one I always think about. Her name is
Yeah.
Destiny. She had 5 children, I believe, 5 children, husband, works in Washington. I think she even had a little side hustle thing. This woman was busy, no bullshit, busy. And she's like, I eat out all the time. I remember she loved Olive Garden.
Oh,
And she's like, I take clients out and I eat and I love Olive Garden, but I want to be this. She wanted to be everything, but she was handling everything. And she said on a level of 1 to 10, how motivated was she? She was a 10. I was like, okay,
uh,
all right, we can do this. She ended up on the cover of Stepmom magazine. She's beautiful, fit, and she took that fitness journey of hers and took it on just like she did her job, just like she did raising her kids, just like she did taking care of her family. She was just one of those people. And sometimes I meet those people and I can tell the second that I talk to them, I'm like, this is a person that could have had every excuse in the book, but
mhm.
she was just like, "I want this." And I looked at the way, so one of my other favorite sayings is, "The way
Yeah.
you do one thing is the way you do everything." And I was like, everything in her life, according to what she's telling me, is she succeeds. So she was a huge, huge success story, and she still looks amazing. She looks like a supermodel. So that was a busy mom who worked in Washington, D.C. How stressful
Wow.
is that? And she still took on life. I mean, she could have stepped on stage and been a competitor. So
Wow.
when somebody who's got all the time and they just don't want to do it, or they complain about eating the same thing all the time, or I don't have the tolerance for it. You don't want it bad enough.
Yeah, no, I did a little bit of online training and then obviously my life is like sneaking all those things, but I think it was a little what I was deterred by is the amount of people that signed up that were not committed to it. I mean, there was one
Yeah.
who he said his wife was very depressed, so he's like, I need to sit on the couch with her for like a few hours and I can't do the workout today. And I was like, is there a way you can like maybe have her do it with you? Maybe you can make this a group thing. Like feel free to let her use the workouts, like make it a team thing. Like I heard the craziest excuses
Yeah.
and I just got so deterred because I'm like, why do you want to like I don't want to just happily take someone's money and not get results or not impact or
Yeah.
like some coaches are like, I'll take your money and you can look exactly the same in 90 days or
Mhm.
9 months or whatever it is. And I'm like, to me, I'm like, that is so not fulfilling. And
Yeah.
it's almost it's my time too, and I want that to be respected. But I'm like, you need to put in the work if you're going to commit to this and put money on it. Usually, putting money on something kind of secures it, but not all the time.
No, they say that 90% of people get a motivational book or sign up for a seminar. They either get the book, go to the seminar, do nothing with the information. Most people won't
Mhm.
even crack open the book and they're satisfied just with that. They feel within themselves that that is a success. Doing
That's
nothing.
I know, and
Like,
that's
oh, bought the book, went to the seminar, checked it off my list,
yeah,
and then they just go right back to the way they used to be.
and that's so. I know I've read it or seen it or some speaker had said this. That like I can give you all the answers right now. I'll tell you exactly how I did this thing that you can do too, and
Mhm.
how many people are actually going to do the work because everyone wants
I
that
know.
the quick pass, the easy pass,
Yeah.
there's so much out there right now that's telling you it's easy to lose weight or it's easy to do this, and I'm like, it's not easy. Everything involves work.
If there was a diet that worked, there would be one diet and everyone would be on it. If there was a
Mhm.
pill that worked, there'd be one pill and everybody'd be taking it. That's why I think partnering with people is really important. And I'll tell my clients when they start their program, I said, think about your 3 closest people. I always say the 5 closest people to you matter so much, but tell 3 of those people, whether it's your mom, your best friend, your husband, whatever. Tell those 3 people, what you're doing, what your goals are, that you started coaching with me. But before you pick those three, you have to make sure that those are people that are going to support you. If it's going to
Yes.
be your best friend who's always competing with you and might be really jealous, do not tell them. Don't tell them shit. Do it in
Yes.
silence. You only tell people that are going to support you, that are going to be your cheerleaders. Otherwise, work in silence. If you don't have that support, some people don't have that at all. Work in silence.
Yeah, and I actually just posted something yesterday and it was like a little diagram because I love posting that stuff to share that when it inspires me. And it was like
Mhm.
some people check on you to compare themselves to you. Other people check on you because they care about you, or some it's different verbiage,
Yeah.
but I'm like, that is so true. And if you ever think
Mhm.
of those friends that come out of the blue just to be like, oh, hey, like did you just start a
Do
podcast
you know
or
what I
you're
call them?
going on the stage or yeah.
Cockroaches. They're cockroaches. But
Ugh,
why I call them cockroaches, when you go through a breakup, like when you go through your divorce, right? All
yep.
these friends come out of the woodwork that you haven't talked to in forever, and they pose it like, "Oh, Alyssa, I want to make sure you're okay. Is everything what happened?"
They want the
They're
deets.
cockroaches because you're going through darkness. When do cockroaches come out? They come out in the
The dark.
darkness, and you flip on the kitchen light and they go scattering. Because if
Wow.
you have things that are really good, they don't
Hmm.
care. They're coming out for the details, for the gossip, for the drama. And it starts to become very clear who really cares about you.
So with the podcast, obviously, when I talk to you, when I talk to all the other females, I say that the whole purpose of it is to, shine on, how did you overcome these things or how did you do that? Sometimes, I mean, the purpose, I guess what I'm saying is what you just said about the cockroaches. If
Mhm.
if I'm inviting other cockroaches on here, how is that going to help inspire anyone, So I think if you're
Yeah.
confident in yourself, if you know who you are, and I know what you talked about too, like sometimes your family and friends have to go. Like sometimes if
Yeah.
they're not supporting you, I mean that's just how it is,
I could
you
do a
know.
whole podcast on that topic.
I know. It's true. It's sad.
Mhm.
But so I know we talked about like, oh, okay, it's a convoluted world where sometimes or what did we say? I think we said it was like a convoluted world, how we said about
Mhm.
everything. With different friends, families, the comparison, the which is like a disease in itself sometimes,
Mhm.
and it kills your spirit. I mean, sometimes you're like, well, I'm not capable of anything. I'm seeing everyone else succeed. Like, I will never do that. And I know you had said something where you said like, let me, what was it? Like, let me help you learn you, not to be me. Is that?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like you were saying how some coaches will say, I could give you all the answers and I can tell you what to do right now,
Hmm.
but are you really going to do it? This is what I would add to that. When people say to me, Hi, I have Graves' disease and somebody referred me, and can you tell me everything that you did to heal?
Uh,
Okay, first of all, I don't have that much time. You don't have that much time. And what worked for me isn't necessarily what's going to work for you. Every cell in my body is different than every cell in your body. The toxic people that were in my life when I have Graves' disease are maybe different than the toxic people you have in your life. Maybe you not having a voice was different than me not having a voice. Like we are
yeah.
so different on every level, no matter how similar we are, we both have a diagnosis. We're so different. Let me help learn you, and then I can help coach you on what would work best for you. And I always tell people, I go, I will never, ever, ever stop you from getting another coach. Like if I'm doing your nutrition or your life coaching, go ahead and get a personal trainer that's different than me. I will never, ever shame someone for bringing more people into the picture because it's all about educating yourself. And maybe five tidbits that I give you will work and two won't. And I want you to scrap those two that don't work because I don't have all the answers. I'm a partner with you. And if I give something to you and it doesn't work, scrap it, but also tell me. So I go, okay, we'll take that off the plate. You
Yeah.
have to have people in your life that are really open to that, because it's a partnership. But yeah, some people want to be ego drives so much of things in life, especially when it comes to coaching. It's not I'm the coach and you are my disciple. No, we're in a partnership together.
Yeah, no, I love that how you phrase that because I think it's I think it's important. And I think with anyone starting their journey or maybe re-engaging with it, or maybe they've never done anything health, fitness, mental, they've never done that journey yet. Like, what do you say some practical tips are before you make that commitment? Or do you suggest people just jump right in?
I think everybody's personality is different.
Mm.
When people want faster change or they've tried things on their own and they feel desperate, especially when they start emotionally sinking, I would say jump in and get a good coach. But definitely, if you have a friend that's had a coach that they refer, say high value things about that person, maybe interview them. But I also think you should interview coaches and make sure that it's a good match. But a lot of people, when they do come to a coach, they've emotionally sunk to a level that they just can't do it on their own anymore. And then they lose what you were saying, the motivation, the drive, and they actually start to get depressed. That's when I think it's good to jump in and get a coach, but make sure it's the right coach for you.
Yeah.
Um, but partnering with the right people, but baby steps. Like, I will ask people, are you the kind of person who's an all or nothing person? Or do you have to take things very slow? Are you an over analyzer? Or are you going to just trust what I'm going to say and jump into it? You have to really learn the people and how they communicate. So I
Yeah.
have people that they're like, tell me what to do. And I'm okay, men, tell me what to do. I'm going to do it. And they do. Women are like, okay, I'm getting anxiety just thinking that I can't have my 2 glasses of wine every night. I'm like, okay, so we're going to do wine the first month, but maybe 1 glass. So you just have to
Mhm.
learn people. So getting a coach that really respects you and wants to care to get to know you, I think is critical. You can't just hire a coach online. You can't just go into the trainer at the gym. You can't. It's silly. It's just like going,
Yeah.
here's my insurance, primary care doctor walking in and thinking that they're going to be able to heal you. It's just as silly.
No, and I love those practical tips. And I know there's other people out there, whether it's competition world or just I want to live long and be healthy. I think
Hmm.
it's you need to interview these people. It's not just like, here's my money.
Yep.
Like, I hope it works, because I had an experience with
Yeah.
my second competition. I was like, I'm gonna get more serious. Let me get because the first coach was like an online thing. I wanted something in person, or I wanted something that was closer. So if I needed to get checked on or whatever for my competition. And this
Yeah.
coach, I started realizing during our check-ins and everything that he was talking. It wasn't about bodybuilding and my gut, because I cared about my gut health. I was taking like tests to make sure, should I be eating this, what's the most optimal food for me? Because everybody's different, like you said.
Hmm.
You have allergies you don't even know exist. And I just remember his conversations were like these motivational, inspirational things that I'm like, I'm trying to do a competition. I'm not trying to be like doing whatever you're doing. And then it started slowly showing me that he wasn't committed, and he'd been doing bodybuilding competitions, like training people for years. And it just
Hmm.
got to the point where I'm like, he's not in this. His head's not in it. His heart, more importantly, is not in this. And I could just
Yeah.
sense it because of how he was speaking to me. I was like, this isn't about bodybuilding anymore. Turns out I
Hmm.
had to get a different coach because I was like, I'm just not feeling this. I'm like, I'm paying a lot of money to get on a stage, for the suit, for the makeup, everything. And I'm sure a WBFF is like probably even more expensive. But
It
there's
is.
a lot to it, and I've always wanted to try that one. I have not, but um, so yeah, it turns out like now he's actually coaching men to I forget like the terminology now, but they're kind of like demonizing the porn thing and doing
Hmm.
more of like you know, I don't really know the official title, but that sent that male mind type business. Like he's training
It's
men
like
and helping
male
them
mentoring.
yeah, so that's what he's doing
Hmm.
now. And I was like, I knew it. Like I knew there was something that I was not like something wasn't
Yeah.
there.
It
So
sounds like he had his niche and he liked the way he had a way of communicating and he was doing that with you. Like, backtrack to what I was saying, you have to have a coach that is interested in learning you, your
mhm.
communication style, what motivates you. It sounds like he didn't even look into you.
uh, yeah, in that first call, that was kind of like an interview. I guess I didn't know because,
Mhm.
who thinks to, interview someone who's, prestigious, has been doing this for years, right? They
Yeah.
must know what they're doing. And I fell into
Mhm.
that trap, but I'm glad I was
Yep.
able to like fire them. And I know that's
Yeah.
like, it was crazy because I was like, oh my God, is this like offensive? But I'm like, it's my cash, it's my body. It's, I'm not getting what I
Totally.
deserve or expect out of this, and
Yeah.
moved on with it. But I just think it's very interesting that we talk about this and bring it up because there's other people who are coach searching, and I'm like, let them be invested in you, like let them
Oh,
know you,
yeah,
like you
and
said.
when they say the big name coaches, I go, "Worst thing you could ever do.
Yep.
Worst thing you could ever do." At least the people that come to me, who are generally doing it for, more than just a plastic trophy and a pro card.
Yeah.
If that's all you want, or you're a fitness model and you're wanting to rise in the ranks, hire one of those brand name coaches who doesn't know who the hell you are. Be willing to pay more just so they'll talk to you at a show, and be willing to do what they're going to tell you to do. That could be a whole nother podcast when it comes to competing. But it
Oh
is
yeah.
coming out. A lot is coming out now about competing and how it's like the mafia. It really is.
I felt that's why I was considering transitioning to WBFF, and I had people, I knew
Mhm.
women that did it, and I was like, is it going to be different? I'm sure in both worlds there's a lot of um what do they say, subjectivity. They're like, no, everything's
Yeah.
objective and this and that, and I'm like, I was
No.
told I was too
No.
proportional, and I'm not saying, oh, I should have taken first, but I'm like, I was a little confused on some of the things that were happening. um
Mhm.
but regardless, that would be a great, other episode, because
Yeah.
I know it opens up like a whole can of worms, and why I haven't been competing, because I'm like, again, it's a lot of money. Like it's like probably one of the most expensive sports besides maybe like, in the
Oh, for sure.
gun world.
And for women, I mean, I don't get the reward money, if there's any, is nothing for women compared to men. And what they do, when the higher up you, it's like everything in life. When you're an amateur level, it really is pure and fun. It's kind of like being a kid. And then when you get older and you get an adult, you're like, oh, this is real life. When you go pro, it's like a lot of things come to fruition that, you're like, oh, they do this and they want you to do that. Um, yeah, it's very, I mean, frankly, I told people, I said, the higher up you go in the competition world and the deeper you get into fitness, it can be very close to the porn industry. The things that
Mhm.
people are willing to do, and the things that people are encouraged to do, are very close to the porn industry. And for me, I said I was always involved in fitness and I was right on the outskirts, just watching it all. And I was like, yep, I'm not willing to do that. I'm never going to sacrifice my moral standards, my
Yeah.
own personal moral standards. But some of the things that I saw, I was like, I was pretty shocked. I was pretty shocked.
Yeah, my posing coach, she's like, have you researched the competition, the judges, the this and the that? And I was like, or who's hosting it and all the big names? And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, why would I have to do that? I'm just going to show up and do it. And she's like, you need to know
Yep.
who you're working with. She's like, if you see this person, he has, like you said, close to the porn industry. I heard horror stories. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God. Like I was so baffled. She's like, always know who you're working with, who's going to be
Mhm.
there, what could happen, and always be aware. She's like, and know who you are and your morals.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, this is like more than posing that I, signed
Yeah.
up for, but it was amazing.
But if you're just doing some local shows, you might never encounter that. It's
Yeah.
similar, like, I lived in Thailand for 2 years, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, Thailand's so amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, it is. People are so nice, really friendly, it's very safe," but there's another side to Thailand. You hear about the middle-aged men that go to Thailand for the young young women.
Yeah. Young ladies.
You see that side, and I'm like, yeah, if you're a tourist and you're just walking down the street in Bangkok, you don't know, but when you live there, I'm like, yep, you take a left down there, and that's where they do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It's the same. It's with everything. There's yin and yang, there's dark and light to
Yep.
everything. So I always say, as long as you do know yourself, like your coach telling you, that's really great advice. If you know yourself and do not deviate for anything, you will always be fine. I really think anybody can compete and not be negatively affected by any of that stuff, but you have to have such a strong sense of self. But again, like we said early in the podcast, this is true with everything in life.
Mhm.
You have to know yourself. You have to know who you are. You have to become very confident. You have to learn who you are and what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. And honestly, dig your feet in and don't let anybody push you over ever. And you'll be
Ever.
fine. Yeah.
I know.
A
I love that.
and don't care what people think of you. Like,
Hmm.
when I was competing and people say, "Oh, look who's in your, your division," and she's this. I remember there was a Playboy model in my lineup, and I said, "I didn't even notice." And then I looked at her, I was like, "Wow, she is really pretty." I just didn't think like that, like the comparison game. I'm into my food and my clients and my
Yeah.
friends there, and I was like, and then it kinda the person got in my head, and I was like, "Ooh, this Playboy model girl is a redhead, and she is gorgeous." Well, she was beautiful. She did not place. Um, she didn't translate the same on stage. But it was an example of someone put that little in my head, and I was like, it got to me for a good 5 minutes. I
Yeah.
was like, huh. That's why you can't care about anybody else but you. Not in a selfish way. And you can't care what anybody thinks of you. What people think of you is none of your business. And if we
Mhm.
could be more like this in life, I think people would stay in their own lane, be a lot nicer to themselves and a lot nicer to other people.
I know, and that's what I hope for with things like this too. I'm like, I need a strong circle of women because for a long time I've been
Yeah.
very much alone. I'm in male dominant industries. There's no females like running around. Like, I need girlfriends. Like, I need people that I can
Yeah.
go to and like talk about this stuff because you start to lose yourself, like you said. And
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. The comparison game and the how mean some girls can be to each other, just and people that don't
Mhm.
even know you. That's the part that blows
Yeah.
my mind. Like, so when I first started Little Fit Patriot, it's back in 2020. So I like came up with this handle. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I'm little, I'm fit, and people are like, you
I
look so
like it.
tall. I'm like, I'm 5'4", but I look tall in pictures. I'm tiny. But I was like, I love that name, whatever, whatever. And the first thing I ever did, I always say it started with a sticker. I started selling like my little stickers, like my merchandise. Like I had like,
Mhm.
cartoons made up of photos that I had. And I was like, that's so cool. And I remember there was a lot of guys, obviously, that were interested in them because they had a girl and a gun. And I was like, that's the Patriot.
Sure.
And so anyways, one of these guys was my friend for like a couple of years. And then his girlfriend, who had no idea who I was, never met her. She was really big on, social media and everything. And she like made him like rip it off. He wasn't allowed to talk to me, like this and that and the other. And I'm like, this woman doesn't even know me. Now she's someone like I would have loved to have on the podcast or like become friends with or train with because she liked to train too. And I was like, it's so weird that like that's the
Yeah.
natural like tendencies just to be mean to each other and you don't even know their story. It's just a weird world we're living
Yeah.
in. But I'm trying to change that at least one little baby step at a time with this,
Yep.
at least. I think it's important to share these messages to, I like to say, humanize our experiences. Because we all deal with these things. It's just we're afraid to talk about it or we don't know who to
For
say it to.
sure.
And I'm like,
And
I'm
the
gonna put
more
myself out there.
the more good people you meet,
Mhm.
good people know good people. So then all of a
Yes.
sudden you look and your circle is surrounded by really good people. I always say you will never find me hanging out, getting martinis with a bunch of girls, like the girls that run in gangs.
Oh
Like, and
yeah.
I'm not girl bashing. I've been a tomboy most of my life. So I have a lot of guy friends and most of my girlfriend, I've never had girl problems ever. But my
Hmm.
girlfriends are mostly tomboys or alpha girls, women with their own businesses, really strong women. So I just never ran with the girls that went out and got martinis and talked about their nails and their
Yeah.
purses and things. It's just not for me. I'm not bashing it, but
Yeah.
it's not for me. So I've always had very deep one-on-one relationships with people. Like I'll go get coffee or go on a walk and really get to know people. And my friends are like who are like me, they surround themselves with people like that too. So when I do get introduced to their circles, we're all very similar. So I would say, thank God. My dad said
Yeah.
something to me once that stuck with me. You don't pick your family, so choose your friends very wisely. And it's
I love
really
that.
true. I'm blessed with friends who are like family to me. So
Absolutely. I love that. And I'm still growing, but I'm happy to have connected with you and to be able to call you a friend.
me too.
And I'm
Me
I'm really
too.
happy you came on. I really appreciate it. You have so many good nuggets to take away for myself and for other people. And so As a coach and everything in between that you are, please share with everyone where they can find you, where they can train with you, or what else
Sure.
is in the works for you.
Yeah. Well, if you live in Niceville, which is a real place in
Yeah.
Florida where I live, that's where I do training and coaching with people in person, but the majority of my business is online. So I do have an app-based program, and I actually have a coupon code for your people. So I have
Ooh.
25% off the first month. So the code is Emily25, and my
Okay.
website to sign up is emilyreynoldsfitness.com. And then my website, I also have a website that
Mhm.
tells my story, and I have my coaching programs and tons of blogs about coffee
Yeah.
enemas and all the cool things that people don't
Yeah.
talk about with holistic health is emilyreynolds.net. And Emily Reynolds Fitness is all my handles for all my social media.
Got it. And I'll make sure to
Yeah,
put that in the caption so people can find it. And now that we're connected,
awesome.
anyone that has a chronic illness or someone that would fit the bill, I will send your way.
Mhm.
So I
Thank
think,
you.
of course, and it's been a pleasure, truly. And I feel inspired. I always do. Every time I have these
Aw,
conversations, I'm like, these people, these women are so powerful, and
yeah.
they're impacting lives every day. You're doing great things, and you found yourself, and that's enough. That's enough for me, I would say.
Yeah, I'm
So yes,
continuing to find myself.
it's a beautiful
Yeah,
journey. But yes, so
cool.
everyone, thank you for listening in. And Emily, again, thank you so much. We hope to have you again. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Of
Thank you
course.
for all the positive energy.
Of course, we got to spread it because if you want good, you got to put good out there. So
Yep.
it's all about that. But this has been Risk Valor. Be adaptable, be reckless. We'll see you next time.